Hey dudes, happy Tuesday. Welcome back to another week of virtual VISTA online learning. So sorry I couldn't be with you guys yesterday. I had some technical difficulties and unfortunately I was not able to get my video up in time for everyone to be able to complete their assignments on time. So my bad. Today we're going to start off with some announcements. All right, here we go. First announcement is that starting this week, we are going to have reteach hours. Woo! Well, what reteach basically means is it's like an intervention block or like the review blocks that we have every single Friday. This is going to happen on Tuesday and Thursdays for math. Well, you might be wondering, how do I know I'm invited to reteach? Reteach will be posted at 12 o'clock, which is the same time your daily assignments will be posted. So the reteach is for any scholars who might have gotten tricked on their guided practice the day before, or maybe even on their quiz. You're going to get a separate assignment assigned to you that's simply going to say reteach. I'm actually going to show you what that looks like shortly after this announcement. You will then go to a Zoom meeting with either Miss Rowe or Miss Hernandez, and that's going to happen at 1:30. That's going to be before office hours. Well, let's say you're not invited to reteach, but you want some help anyway. Cool. Come to office hours. It's still every day at 2:30 until 4 o'clock with Miss Rowe or with Miss Hernandez. You can get all of the help that you need on any of your guided practice questions. Last week, I also mentioned that we're going to have some competitions. So we're also going to go ahead and get started on virtual VISTA points. Woo! What this means is that this is like the AZ merit points that we would have done had we been in school to do our AZ merit practice, or you can think of this like the dollars that you earned in your bank accounts. So for each day that you log onto your Google Classrooms, complete assignments, go to your scheduled reteach, or even visit office hours, you're going to earn some points. You will also earn points if you do your Lexia assignments. I've heard that lots of scholars have not been doing their 40 minutes of Lexia every single day, which is a huge bummer. You're going to now be able to earn some points so that you can go ahead and get all of that practice that you need for literacy and for math. As you can see, if you attend the office hours or even the reteach hours, that's up to 3 points. And if you're the Lexia Learner Superstar, which means you have done the 100 plus hours of reading each and every week, you also earn 3 points. So continue to work extremely hard so that you guys can go ahead and earn some of these points. All of your teachers will keep track of all of this in Kickboard, and we will show you the daily totals before your lessons each and every day. But you might also be wondering, what are the prizes? Well, the top student earner in each grade, you get to host your own Zoom social for a day, which is really, really awesome. So you get to host your own Zoom social meeting with any of your friends. The top 5 scholars get a homework pass for the day, so no homework for you. The top 10 scholars get lunch bunch with 2 teachers of your choice. This will also be a Zoom call. The top 20 student earners in each grade level will get a virtual dance party, or maybe we'll even do like a 20-minute show from Netflix or maybe even from Hulu. And then all scholars, which is so exciting, each week your name is going to be put into a raffle where you can then be chosen to get pizza delivered to your house. That's so amazing. Oh my gosh, I love pizza and I would love free pizza. I don't know about you. So make sure you're logging on each and every day so that you can earn all those points and continue to show all of your core values even when you're at home learning online. All right, now let's go ahead and get started on our guided practice for today. Hey friends, as promised, before we get started on our guided practice, I wanted to show you what the reteach assignment and invite would look like. But first, what do you guys think of these cactuses? They're cute, right? Kitty Badger picked them out. Okay, so in your stream, you will have two assignments. You will have the regular assignment for that day, and then you'll have another assignment that says reteach. When you click on the reteach, in the description, you will have a Zoom link. I know in this example you'll see two, but you'll only have one Zoom link. You must visit that Zoom link at 1:30 p.m. that day, and you'll review some of the questions that are on that form attached to that assignment. I promise it's not going to be a whole lot of questions, and all of your teachers are going to help you go through each of those questions. Again, that's for those scholars who are invited to reteach. If you're not invited to reteach, all you then have to do is just go ahead and do the regular practice for that day. Cool beans? Okay, we're going to get started on our guided practice for today, and as promised, it is on multi-digit division. I'm really excited about this week because we are going to build on all of the skills that we learned in the first week and in the second week. More specifically, we're going to use those place value strategies and the multiplication strategies that we learned last week to help us with some of the division problems for this week. Our friends, Tim and Moby from BrainPop, are going to pay us a visit and show us a little bit more about division. When you're watching the video, I would love for you to take note of some of the similarities and differences between division and multiplication. Get your popcorn ready. Ready, Kitty Badge? Yeah. I think she's going to sleep through this one. All right, here you go. Enjoy the video.
All right, you goons, we did it. We got away with 3 of the biggest capers in history. When we get back to the hideout, we'll divvy up the loot, and we'll all be rich. Rich, I tell you. When we're through, boys, we'll all be driving new Packards and listening to the biggest radios they make. Okay, first order of business. Let's divide the loot from the first job. Hot diggity, just look at all that ice. We got diamonds, 20 of them. Now let's see, there was 4 of us participated in the heist. Crusher, Bruiser, Moby, and me. If we divide things up equally, we each get... Wait a second, how do we divide 20 diamonds evenly among 4 people? Well, yeah, we need to use division to figure it out. Division is basically the splitting of large numbers into equal groups of smaller numbers. In our case, we're trying to divide our loot in between the 4 of us so that we have an equal share. Well, in division, all these numbers have special terms. The number being divided is called the dividend. Here, the dividend is 20 for our 20 diamonds. The number you're dividing by is called the divisor. Here, the divisor is 4, since we have 4 people. And the answer you get is called the quotient. Our quotient is 5. So each of us gets 5 diamonds. Holy mackerel, 15 gold coins. Pretty soon we're all going to be dancing the Lindy Hop on the Queen Mary. Now let's divide them up. What's up, little Jimmy? Okay, fair is fair. You tipped us off this big score, so we'll divide these coins up 5 ways. Now let's see. How many times can we divide 15 by 5? Yep, you got it. We can divide 15 coins into 5 groups of 3 coins apiece. And you can check your answer by multiplying the quotient by the divisor. If your answer is the dividend, you've done it right. Let's see, 3 times 5 equals 15. Yep, we've got it. That's because division is sort of like the opposite of multiplication, in the same way that subtraction is the opposite of addition. And now for the last part of the haul. 21 pocket watches. Why, we'll be taking flappers to the automat until... Oh, cheese it, guys, it's Lieutenant Rita. I mean, we just acquired these 21 lovely watches. And since there's 7 of us, including you and Sergeant Cassie, we could, divide the loot 7 ways. Let's see, 21 watches for 7 people. 21 divided by 7 is 3. So that's 3 watches apiece for each of us, including you two. Oh, why did I think I could get away with this? Becoming a 1930s gangster was a really bad career choice. Of course, it could work for Halloween.
Silly Tim and Mobley. Thankfully, that was only a Halloween costume. While you were watching the video, you must have noticed that when Tim was dividing up all of the diamonds, he was simply just giving each diamond one by one to each person. While we are solving the story problem, I want you to think, how can you think of the same strategy to help you answer the story problem for number 1? Let's go ahead and read it together. Ivan gets paid $5 per hour for doing yard work. If Ivan earned $195, how many hours did he work? Do you think he's gonna need to work more than 195 hours or less than 195 hours? If you were thinking less, you were right. It would be very challenging for Ivan to need to work more than 195 hours in order to earn all of the money that he would like to earn. However, the evidence in the story also tells us that he gets paid $5 per hour. Per hour means for every 1 hour that he works. So if Ivan worked 1 hour, he would get paid, that's right, $5. While you are solving the story problem, think of how you could solve it in a quick and efficient way using multiplication. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. If you finish it in those 5 minutes, go ahead and be sure to solve it a different way and also to double check your work. Go ahead and go to work. Okay, now let's go ahead and review our strategies. Let's think about what is the same or what is different about how you solved it and how myself and Kitty Badger solved it, and then make some edits along the way as we review our work. Okay, here we go. So as I said since the beginning, it's been really important to stay organized. So each and every day, making sure that the date is on my paper and the lesson that I'm working on for today. And then I also wrote some annotations from the story. Well, the story was about Ivan doing yard work, and we knew that Ivan was making $5 per hour. So the first annotation that I made was $5 per hour. I know that per hour means for every 1 hour. For every, that's right, 1 hour. The next annotation that I made was that he wants to earn $195 in all. So the first thing that I thought about is that I thought it would be a great idea to count by fives because I knew that $5 was the amount that he wanted to make for every hour. So if I counted by fives, I'm counting the money, but I'm also counting each hour that he worked. Well, counting by fives is easy because I have been counting by fives since I was in kindergarten, and I know you have as well. So that was a pretty easy strategy. I counted from fives all the way until I got to 195. Then I labeled at the top of each five how many fives I counted by. More specifically, how many groups. How many groups of five I counted by was all the way to 39 fives. So this must be how many hours Ivan needed to work. Well, thinking about the work that we did last week, and also because I had time to do another strategy, I decided to use multiplication. In my first strategy, when I'm counting by fives one at a time, I'm only counting by 1 hour at a time. So when I start to use multiplication, I know that the 5 represents the money Ivan is earning each hour. Well, the other factor has to represent the number of hours. It has to represent that's right, it's the number of hours. So if Ivan worked for 10 hours, he would make $50. Say, whoa. Well, $50 is still not quite to $195. So I knew I could do it again. 5 times 10 equals 50. Well, now I'm to $100. I'm still not there. I could still use another 50. Well, if Ivan worked 10 more hours, that's 50 more dollars. He's now at $150. Well, if I added another $50, that would be $200. And that's over the amount that Ivan wanted to make. So I started at 150 and I counted until I got to 195. 160, 170, 180, 190. Well, that's 40 more dollars. Since he has to make it to $195, that's 5 more dollars with the 40. So I had to think, what can I multiply 5 by to get me to 45? Well, thankfully, in my first strategy, I've already counted, so I went back to reference which multiple of 5 equaled 45. Well, if I multiply 5 9 times, that equals 45. Once I add 45 to 150, that's $195. I made it to the amount of money Ivan needed to earn. Going back to my number sentences, I remember that the 5 represented the money. So all of the factors in the middle has to represent the number of hours, that's right, the number of hours. I counted these like tens, 10, 20, 30, 39. Looks like Ivan also needs to work 39 hours in my second strategy. Did you get 39 hours? Amazing job. I went ahead and wrote my answer in a complete sentence. Then I showed 2 number sentences that matched my work since I did 2 strategies. Ivan needs to work for 39 hours. My first strategy, I counted by the number 5 39 times. So I had 39 groups of 5, which makes 195. In my second strategy, since I did 10 groups of 5 at a time, I showed each number sentence showing the 10 groups of 5, then how I added them. All of that equaled 195. Amazing work for today. If you got that one correct, go ahead and give yourselves 2 pats on the back. Kitty Badger, 5. Oh man, she is so lazy in the mornings. Okay, let's go ahead and type in our answer in our guided practice. Ivan needs to work for 39 hours, so let's go ahead and type in 39. Go ahead and quickly organize your scrap piece of paper for question number 2, and let's consider how we're going to use the multiplication strategy I just reviewed to answer the second story problem about Geraldine. Go ahead and read the story problem to yourself, then I'll go ahead and read it aloud. Question number 2 says, Geraldine bought 285 balloons for her cousin's birthday party. Geraldine tied 8 balloons to each table. How many tables could have 8 balloons? How many balloons were left? The first thing that I notice about that question is that it's asking us how many balloons were left. That must mean that not all of the tables are going to have an equal number of balloons. Let's keep this in mind when we are solving the story problem about Geraldine. So again, go back to your scratch piece of paper, make sure it's organized for question number 2. Then let's get started on figuring out how many balloons, or more specifically, how many tables could have 8 balloons. Okay, so just as I did in the previous question about Ivan, I went ahead and made some annotations of some things that I thought was really important in the story. The first annotation was how many balloons there are. There are 285 balloons. The next annotation is how many balloons were at each table. There were 8 balloons at each table. So then the question wants to ask is how many tables? And the last annotation that I'm going to make is again, how many balloons were left? I think this annotation is really important because in the first story problem about Ivan, we didn't have anything left over. Anytime we have a division problem that has leftovers, we call those remainders. That's right, remainders. So as we're solving the problem, we're going to have a remainder since the question is telling us how many balloons were left. Now let's go ahead and think about the multiplication strategy that I reviewed about Ivan and needing to work number of hours doing yard work. If I think about the 2 numbers in the story, 285 balloons and 8 balloons at each table, well, since I know that the value 8 represents the number of balloons at each table, the number I'm going to multiply it by represents, that's correct, the number of tables. Well, if I know that one table will have 8 balloons, and I need to divide 285 balloons, I'm going to think of a value that I can multiply 8 by that's large enough to get me as close to 285 as I can. The first factor that we should probably start off with is 10. If we start off with 10, when we multiply it by 8, that'll get us to 80. This 80 represents the number of balloons. 80 is pretty close to 285, but it's not close enough. So we can continue to multiply by multiples of 10 by, that's right, multiples of 10 to get as close to the largest value as we can. If we multiply 8 times 10, that'll get us 80 more balloons. When we combine 80 and 80, that equals 160. This is the number of balloons we have at 20 tables. We still haven't divided all of the balloons yet, so let's continue to multiply 8 by 10. When we add 80 to 160, that equals 240. We've now divided 240 balloons. We still need to get to 285 balloons. So when we get really close, we want to think, how many more do we need to get to our largest value? Since we're at 240 balloons, how many more balloons do we need to get to 285? That's right, 45. So then I'm thinking about, what could we multiply 8 by to get us to 45, or as close to 45 as we can? If you were thinking we could multiply 8 times 5, well, you're correct. That can get us as close to 45 as we can. If we multiply 8 times 6, that's going to be 48, and that's going to be over this amount. And just like the question said, we're going to have some leftovers. So if we multiply 8 times 5, that equals 40. Well, 40 plus 240 equals 280. We have now put 280 balloons at 35 tables. If we think about what the question asks us, the first question is, how many tables? Well, right now, we can have 35 tables with 8 balloons at each table. We noticed that we only made it to 280 balloons. Geraldine had 285 balloons. Since we know we cannot make it to 285 when we skip count by 8 or multiply by 8, that means we're going to have 5 balloons left over. Let's go ahead and type in our answer for questions number 2. It's broken down into 2 parts. Let's go back and read the question. The first question says, how many tables could have 8 balloons? When we solved it together, we noticed that it was going to be 35 tables. The second part to the question says, how many balloons were left? 5 balloons were left. Nice work, scholars. Go ahead and organize your scrap piece of paper for question number 3. Read question number 3 to yourself. Question number 3 says, what is the quotient of 68 divided by 4? I want you to say that word to yourself 2 times. How many times? That's right, 2 times. That word is quotient. Say it to yourself 2 times. Quotient is the answer to division problems. Anytime you see a question that asks you to find the quotient, to find the quotient, it means to solve using division. Go ahead and write 68 divided by 4 on your scrap piece of paper. When we go back and we think about what we learned in the Brain Pot video with Tim and Moby, Tim told us that 68 is called the dividend. It's called that's right, the dividend. The number that we are dividing into equal groups is called the divisor. And the answer is called that's right, the quotient. Each of the problems that we solved today is division because we split into equal groups. We're going to take the number 68 and we're going to split it into 4 equal groups. We can use multiplication to solve this problem because we can think of this as 4 times something equals 68. Just like the story problem that we solved together with Geraldine and the balloons at the birthday party. When we start multiplying by 4, we should always think, what is the largest value we can multiply to get us as close to 68 as we can? We always want to think about using tens or multiples of tens. If we start with 4 times 10, that equals 40. That's pretty close to 68. If we multiplied 4 times 10 again, we would have to add another 40. Well, 40 plus 40 is 80, and that is larger than 68. So we're not going to multiply 4 by 10 again. We're going to think of a different value that is less than 10. 4 times 5 equals 20. And 40 and 20 equals 60. I'm very close to 68. Now I need to think, what can I multiply 4 by to make 8? Well, that's easy. 4 times 2 equals 8. When we add 8 to 60, that equals 68. We know our answer is in the middle. Circle the values and then add them together. Ten plus 5 is 15. 5 plus 2 is 17. So 68 divided by 4 equals 17. Go ahead and also write the multiplication sentence that is the opposite of this division sentence. 4 times 17 equals 68. So the quotient is 17. Let's go ahead and type 17 in the blank space for question number 3. Amazing job on your first lesson of multi-digit division. Go ahead and click Next at the bottom, and don't forget to do your independent practice questions. Be sure to do the work on a separate piece of paper. Some of the questions this week are going to get juicy. So again, make sure you are practicing and watching all of these videos all the way through.